work on one of the videos that I assigned, TED Talks, comedians' take on our democracy. And the first vocabulary word with pronunciation view is the word impediment. Impediment. Think of the impediment as obstruction or an obstacle of doing something. Something that it could be either be progress or movements, achieving something difficult or impossible. Impediment. So for example, Vietnam aiming to be the top 30 largest GDPs by 2030. But adequate infrastructure such as highways and bridges acts as an impediment to the economic growth. Impediment. Number 2, partisanship. 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 Being bipartisan, strong, sometimes adherence to a particular party, trying to be able to work with everyone across the board. Well, that's bipartisanship, but partisanship meaning it's one-sided. You're choosing one side. So for example, think of partisanship is currently at its worst, right? Because the Democrats and the Republicans are seeing each other more so as enemies instead of working as bipartisanship to work together side by side. Next word is traumatic. Traumatic. Something that is disturbing emotionally or just physically scary, that just bothers you, right? It's disturbing. An example a sentence: having to deal with my boss at work is quite traumatic, especially because English is my second language and not feeling comfortable and confident to deal with a boss could be traumatic. The number 4, obligated. Obligated. Obligation could either be through rules or through your personal belief. Being obligated to show up to work on time because it is a requirement, typically by laws or rules. So an example of employees are obligated to show up to work on time. Employees are obligated to show up to work on time. Number 5, dictated. Short I, dictated. When someone is giving you orders to either carry out a job or your duties is dictated in such that you have to show up on time to do these things that are expected of you. An example is the US president dictated troops to protect Israel from Iran's missile attacks. The US president dictated that troops need to go to protect Israel from Iran's missile attacks. 6, forum. Forum. It's a public place that people meet for discussion, events, or things like that. Example sentence: one of the most effective ways to improve English is to join an English forum where members communicate exclusively in English and practice in English. That's one of the best ways to immerse yourself into a forum that gives you a safe environment to learn. Number 7, outburst. Outburst. An outburst like a sudden, intense expression, either through a surge, activity, or growth. Outburst. An example here is, it is used, there was an outburst at work. There was an outburst at work with customers, especially after a long holiday. There was an outburst at work with customers, especially over the long weekend. Number 9, a short duration. Short duration. Something that happens within a short period of time, right? A short duration. The project is expected to be completed in a short duration as a deadline is approaching. The project is expected to be in short duration as a deadline is approaching. And the last one is catastrophe. Catastrophe. Something that is huge that happens, that causes calamity or chaos, like the recent Hurricane Helene was a catastrophic event which caused a catastrophe in 6 states that it hit and affected. So experts fear, for example, that experts fear a humanitarian catastrophe if food is not delivered to the refugees soon, in the case of talking about our democracy, or in a case of talking about refugees outside the country, or in the case of even Americans after this Hurricane Helene, that a catastrophe has occurred and not getting supplies and necessary needs for people could cause an additional catastrophe. I hope this helps.